Chapter 6 Invisible Enemies. Jack and Annie whirled around. A dark figure was standing at a side door of the Institute. The sorcerer, Jack thought. He frantically tried to remember his line of the rhyme. Can I help you? The figure said. He stepped forward into the light of a gas lamp. He was an old man with stooped shoulders. His hair was white, and he had a friendly smile. Hi! Who are you? Asked Annie. I am the night watchman, the man said. The Institute is closed for the night. Have you been bitten by a dog? Have you come for the rabies treatment? No, we're fine, said Annie. Is that what you do here? Asked Jack. You treat people for rabies? Yes, not I, of course, but Dr. Pasteur. He treats other diseases as well, said the old man. He is the world's foremost medical researcher. Really? Said Jack. What is your research? Microbes, said the night watchman. Microbes? Said Annie. Germs, explained Jack. Yuck, said Annie. Microbes are invisible to the eye, said the old man. Some are useful and necessary, but others can cause great harm. Dr. Pasteur battles the deadly ones with research and vaccines and new medicines. Annie gasped. He battles deadly enemies no one can see, she said. He's the magician of the invisible. Yes, said Jack. The old man smiled. I suppose you could say that, he said. Dr. Pasteur has certainly helped a lot of people. We have to find him, said Annie. Do you know where he is now? Unfortunately, you have just missed him, said the night watchman. Earlier, a messenger left an invitation for him. A strange man in a black cloak, said Annie. You know him? Said the night watchman. Not really, said Jack, but we think we know who he is. What did the invitation say? I do not know, said the old man, but when Dr. Pasteur read it, he left immediately. He said he had to get to the Eiffel Tower by 10 p.m. The Eiffel Tower? Said Annie. By 10 p.m.? Said Jack. Do you know what time it is now? The old man pulled out a pocket watch. It's about 25 minutes until 10. Yikes, we better get going, said Annie. Thanks for your help, Jack said to the night watchman. You're welcome, the old man said. Then he stepped back into the Institute and closed the door. Hurry, said Annie. She and Jack ran down the steps to the street. Dr. Louis Pasteur, said Jack. I've heard of him too. This is crazy. None of these guys are really magicians. They're all famous for doing great things in science and stuff. I wonder who the fourth magician is, said Annie. The magician of iron, who bends the metals of earth and triumphs over the wind. Is he a magician or a scientist or what? I don't know, said Jack, but we have to get to that tower fast. We have to find the magicians and learn their secrets before the sorcerer finds them. Jack and Annie looked up and down the lamp-lit street. A man was pushing a cart over the cobblestones. A couple on a two-seater bicycle rode by and disappeared. Then a horse and carriage clattered up the street. Taxi! Yelled Jack. But the horse and carriage kept going. There was no sign of another one. The street was empty except for Jack and Annie. Let's start walking, said Jack. Look, said Annie. The couple on the two-seater bicycle rattled back down the road. They stopped near a yellow street lamp. We heard you call for help. Do you need assistance? The man asked in a gruff voice. Jack and Annie stepped closer to the bike. The riders were an odd-looking couple. The man was short. He wore a tall black hat and had a bushy beard and a long mustache. The woman was short also. She wore a hat with a veil that hid most of her face. We need to know the quickest way to the Eiffel Tower, said Annie. We have to get there by 10. It's an emergency. An emergency? Oh, dear! Exclaimed the woman in a high, squeaky voice. The man cleared his throat and spoke in his low, gruff voice. It would take quite a long time to walk to the Eiffel Tower from here, he said. Perhaps you should take our bicycle. Really? Said Jack. Of course, said the man, if it's truly an emergency. It's an emergency, all right, said Annie. But how can we get your bike back to you? Just leave it for us under the arches at the bottom of the tower, said the man. We can pay you for letting us borrow it, said Annie. She pulled coins out of her pocket and held them out to the couple. You can have them all. No, please, we're happy to help, said the man as the couple climbed off their bicycle. This is really nice of you, said Annie. Good luck, the woman squeaked. Then she and the man started walking away. You were our good luck, shouted Annie. Thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot, shouted Jack. The man turned back. You had better hurry, he called over his shoulder. If you want to be there by 10, you will have to spin like a whirlwind. Then he and the woman rounded the corner and were gone. I love this bike, said Annie. She climbed onto the front seat, and Jack climbed onto the one in the back. Ready? Go easy till we get the hang of it, said Jack. Jack and Annie started pedaling. At first, the large bike was very wobbly, and they almost fell over. We have to pedal at the same speed, said Jack. Jack and Annie balanced themselves on the bike and tried to pedal together. The bike bumped over the cobblestones a little more smoothly. I think I've got the hang of it now, said Annie. Me too, said Jack. It isn't that different from riding a regular bike. Which way do we go? Said Annie. We have to find that busy street with the cafes, said Jack. They rode the bike to the corner and looked right and left. That way, said Annie. She pointed to the right, where there was a busy block with lots of gaslit restaurants and people strolling about. Okay, go, said Jack. Annie turned the front handlebars, and she and Jack pedaled down the bumpy street. Annie steered them carefully around couples walking arm in arm. People at outdoor cafes waved at them as they rode by. But the street grew more deserted as Jack and Annie kept riding. By the time they came to the end, there was no one around. They pushed back on their pedals and brought their bike to a shaky stop. Which way now? Said Annie. Jack looked to the right and left. Both ways were dimly lit, with closed shops and dark houses. Jack didn't recognize anything. I don't know, he said. I wasn't paying attention during the carriage ride. Me either, said Annie. Jack could see the Eiffel Tower rising into the sky, behind other buildings. It didn't look that far away, but he had no idea how to get there. Let's try going left, he said. Jack and Annie turned left and rattled over the cobblestones until they came to an empty square at the end of the street. It's a dead end, said Jack. We have to go back, said Annie. Hurry! Jack and Annie turned the bike around and sped back up the street. They pedaled until they came to another dead end. Oh, no, said Jack. Where's that busy street with all the cafes? We must have missed it somehow, said Annie. We're completely lost, and it's almost 10 o'clock. This is so annoying, said Jack. The tower is right there. He pointed to the Eiffel Tower looming over Paris. It's really not that far away. We just don't know how to get there. Wait a minute, said Annie. That guy said that to get there by 10, we'd have to spin like a whirlwind. I know, but we're lost, said Jack. We don't know which way to go. It doesn't matter, said Annie. We have to spin into the air. That's one of our magic rhymes. We have to spin our bike into the air.